This is Eric Johnson, the brand.
And Aaron Thigpen, the source.
Welcome to our podcast. Today, Aaron, we're going to talk about a great subject that's going around for ages now. Showcase. How to showcase. What about showcasing? Some key points of it. You know, what's your take on that, eh?
Well, for those of you first who haven't been to Showcase yet, EJ, why don't you explain to them what it is and its importance and how it fits into the baseball development spectrum?
Showcases or showcasing or going out to an event to know, your skill development and what you need to do, or to display your skills. That's what I call it, a showcase. College coaches go to these showcases to find players, or they stream video from the showcase to find players, or get notes from the guy who's running the showcase so they can get evaluations on players. It's basically the evaluation of an athlete to see if they play at the next level. Now, some in these showcases, they give scholarships sometimes out of them. Sometimes it's a way for them to see an athlete they haven't seen before. But basically, showcases give you the ability to be seen by a collegiate scout. That's the first part to understand about a showcase. Now, there's elements in the showcase, but that's the first part.
Okay. So, in terms of a showcase event, what is usually done on a general spectrum? I know different organizations will run their showcases in different ways, but what are some of the more common things that you should be ready to participate in when you get to a showcase?
Okay, great. One, running. They're going to time you in a 30-yard dash, a 40-yard dash, or a 60-yard dash. Okay? Second thing, you're going to hit. They're going to evaluate you on your swing, and they're going to evaluate you on your exit speed off a batting tee and off live pitching. The third thing, they're going to evaluate your defense, how fast you can throw the ball across the diamond from a infield position, and how hard or fast you throw the ball from an outfield position, like from right field to home plate, or from shortstop to first base. They're gonna evaluate your skills and then get what they call a gun reading. It tells you how fast you throw the ball to a certain spot across the diamond or to third base or home plate. Okay. The fourth thing they're going to do is you might play a scrimmage or a simulated game where you get at bats like a game. It's a controlled scrimmage, basically. At some events, they do play it live, but you're facing other kids and competing in a game situation type scenario. For the pitchers, which I think is important, they're going to get your velocity reading, how hard you're throwing, how good your control is, how your mound presence is. All those little things are nuances they need to see as a pitcher. How well you field your position. They might do a pitcher's fielding practice at a showcase. For the catchers, they're going to get your pop time. Catch the ball, throw it to second base. Is it 2.0? That's kind of like the standard. So there are certain standards they have too. But for a catcher, how well you receive and block, how well you throw the ball, and your overall presence in commanding yourself behind the plate.
Okay. So that's a lot to get ready for. From my side of it, the one thing I'd like to see athletes do is prepare in advance for these events. Far too many athletes, I find, either show up to these events and don't really know what they're in for, and then end up not having as good a performance as they'd like. They just think they're going to play. The next thing you know, hey, I had to run a 60. So I always suggest that the athletes, if you're going to, try and keep yourself in showcase ready close to year round.
All the time, right?
That way you can pop onto one of these events with short notice and be ready. Or even if there's just a little bit of ramp up time, you can get yourself ready for a good performance. But if you're going to plan it out, I generally like to have my athletes plan out 6 weeks in advance.
That's awesome.
And the reason being is you've got to get the body, one, to acclimate to your training.
Right.
Two, to troubleshoot any problems or issues you might have, whether they're technical, whether they're trying to get you in shape. Right. Those sorts of things. And three, you also need time to rehearse the events.
Ooh, I love that. I love rehearsal, Aaron. That's great.
Yeah, you have. I really think you have to rehearse the events. And you might think, well, I've been having baseball practice, and I've been, I've been doing bullpens. But you've got to understand, these events really boil things down into a condensed amount of reps and times.
Right.
And so you're only going to have so many opportunities. You only get the chance to face 3 batters.
Right.
You may only get to run 160. You may only get to have 5 swings off the tee.
Right.
So I really think athletes need to be able to hone in and focus and pull out their best performance when it's that short amount of time and it's that condensed amount of time. And that takes rehearsal. You're just not going to be able to flip on a switch and always produce your best performance. But if you rehearse that, then you're more likely to tap into your better performances.
And rehearsal would be like this. So if I was an infielder, I would get 1 ground ball at me, 1 ground ball to my right, 1 ground ball to my left, and then a slow roller. And that's it. That's the infield sequence in a basic showcase. In the outfield, it would be 3 balls maybe, and that they'll take your best throwing speed. Hitting, you might, like you said, Aaron, 5. You might get 3 swings from an exit velocity standpoint off a tee, and then get 7 swings on the field live, and that's it. That's what they're rating you by. So when you say rehearsal, and you say, hey, pitchers may only face 3 batters. That's your showcase. Yeah. It's not like you're going to be out there. It may say 1 to 4. You're not doing baseball activities from 1 to 4. There's a lot of standing around. Right. I compare it a lot to a track athlete getting ready to compete in their event. And you're rehearsing this event all the time in your training, and all of a sudden you go to this big event and you have to do your event, and they're standing around. There's other events going on, there's other stuff, and all of a sudden at this time in this, it could be for you, a world-class sprinter, that was it. That was your time. Yeah. It's no different in these showcases in baseball. You need to be prepared.
Right. And that means preparing off-site up to the event, and also navigating yourself properly when you get to the event. So,
I like
what I always suggest with a lot of the athletes when they're going to run, their 30s or their 60s, if there's time, warm up. Do your own warm up. They have a warm up activity, that's great, but you kind of would know what warms you up and what gets you ready. Right. And don't be afraid to do some rehearsal sprints, peel off from the group and do what you need to do, whether that's getting ready in the bullpen, whether that's getting more swings in, but you don't want to stand in line, wait behind, 20 guys, and then you get up there and you're cold. Well, my thing is step out of line or step away to the side and do what you need to do to help yourself get prepared, so that way when it is your turn, you can be ready for the moment.
I love that, Aaron, because I've been to so many events over the last 25 years, and I see athletes not prepared. Yeah. Whether I was watching or scouting at a showcase, or watching other athletes from other teams run a 30 or a 60, or they're hitting and they haven't taken a swing, they just go in there and expect that it's going to happen. Right. And I think preparation is the key. Yep. On-site, off-site, and getting ready. The 6-week window, I love, Aaron. That 6-week window is perfect because, and I like what you said earlier, but you got to keep that in mind. You need to train all year round, and so when it's time to go, you're not surprised.
Right.
Yeah, I love that.
Another thing when you're at the event is get an itinerary, or at least have an idea of what the flow of your day is going to be, and be prepared with your gear, be prepared with your hydration, be prepared with maybe You bring some kind of snack because maybe it's a 4-hour event.
Right.
And you're up and you're out there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then you guys don't stop until 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Right.
And you haven't brought anything to hydrate. You haven't brought anything to keep your energy up. Maybe something to nibble on.
Right.
So kind of plan for any sort of thing to happen. Pack something so that you're ready, so that maybe if there aren't any breaks or you're not going to get a chance to go off site, you have something to eat to fuel yourself, to keep your energy level up. You have the appropriate hydration resources. Just don't, assume, well, hey, there's going to be a water fountain, around.
Right. Right.
Elite level athletes don't necessarily drink out of water fountain. I'm gonna tell you that.
They don't.
They don't.
They just don't do that. They're prepared.
They have their own stuff. So, those are things that you want to look at. Obviously, you're going to have your proper, hitting gear. For those of you guys who are running those 60s, I always say, check out the surface. If they let you run in your running shoes instead of cleats, you're probably going to be better off unless you're running on the dirt.
Absolutely.
Cleats aren't built for speed. I don't care how much Nike says these are super light,
they're not
super flies. They're not going to be better than probably one of your running trainers. It's
Absolutely. You can have said that any better, and they give you the option. Take advantage of that, especially on a turf facility, that you can do that, right? And you're not on dirt. That's your best option, correct?
Yeah. So all of those things, and then I know you go to these showcases and there might be 100 kids or 50 kids or whatever, and they can't necessarily give you your scores, your times there. Right. And I get that. But if there's a place that they're posting them, don't leave the event without getting them. You want to know those things. Sometimes they'll say they'll put them online and may have to wait for that, but you should know your performances. And the reason I say that is what identifies you and marks you until your next performance.
Right.
In most cases. And if you only do one event and you lay an egg at that event, then you can't erase those marks until you get to another event.
Right.
Or there's some other way for you to showcase your talent, whether it's, they see you in some kind of game or something. So you want to be careful. And that's why I always tell athletes, it's better to keep them guessing as to if you're the one that they want than to solidify that you're the one that they don't want.
Exactly.
And what I mean by that is if you go out there and you lay an egg in your 60, say you run 7.7 and you should be under 7.
Right.
Well, that's going to automatically write you off. That stat right there can write you off from a lot of different coaches. And if you don't run another event, that is kind of the profile that is going to identify you.
Right.
And you don't want that. So you want to be ready when you get to these events, and you want to be able to put your best foot forward. And if something is bothering you, have an injury or something is nagging you, then maybe you bow out of the showcase altogether, or at least that particular event. Because again, you don't want to put poor exit velocity down, because in the internet nowadays, that stays with you forever.
Yes, it does.
So until you have another event or another showcase to erase that poor mark, that is you in the eyes of all those other scouts and coaches that are out there.
Right. Aaron, I like what you say. Everyone, I tell parents and players out there, be ready to go when you go to a showcase. Just don't show up and go because your friend went or it's the in thing to do. Be prepared and really be at your best when you're going, and give yourself the best opportunity.
Couldn't have said it better. It's a great way to end it.
And again, this is Coach EJ, the brand.
And Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source. We'll see you.
See you later.